All right. So a very warm good morning or good afternoon, depending upon the time zone you are in. I'm really happy and delighted to welcome our panelists to the Enalito's E-commerce Retention Summit 2021 today. And my name is Kuldeep Thakre. I'm the senior strategist at Enalito Automation. We are a technology company working in the field of AI and work with a lot of different technologies to solve key problems in the field of retail. And over the years, we have learned that every problem can be solved if you have the right data and if you have the right technology tools available with you. And the world that we are living in is changing then, and it's very dynamic. So 2020 has shown us that the offline world, when it was paused, the online world has moved forward by leaps and bounds, and digital adoption has helped not just the consumers but also the merchants in making sure that they are serving their customers in the best possible manner. So we are going to talk a lot about different topics today, and let me first begin by making introduction of our panelists. Uh, the first we have on the panel is Sharik Khan. Sharik is the Chief Operating Officer at Naeem Khan, and Sharik is based out of New York. And his brand Naeem Khan is the world's premier designer of luxury apparel, established in 2003. And Naeem Khan currently produces ready-to-wear, evening wear, and bridal collection to dress some of the most glamorous women in the fashion world. And to talk a little bit about Sharik, Sharik was born in India and grew up surrounded by the beauty of its culture, architecture, history, and design. And he cultivated his knowledge of textiles under the watchful eyes of his grandfather and father, both well known in India for designing intricate clothing worn by the royal families. As a teenager, Sharik moved to the United States and apprenticed for Halston, where he absorbed the ethos of modern restraint and the secret of draping.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's Naeem. This is Naeem's profile, not myself. But it's
Oh,
okay. I think it's even more relevant to describe his background than mine. So please.
yes, absolutely. So I was actually doing some like trying to understand what about your brand, and I realized a lot of things are there. We'll love to learn more about that going forward. So great to have you, Sharik, on the panel, and feel free to share your thoughts and how you have building this great brand. The next we have on the panel is Andrea, Andrea Simer. Andrea is the CEO at Alin and based out of Brooklyn, New York. And Andrea is a result-driven, determined entrepreneur and with abundance of experience in both product development and production. And she had been leading brands to more efficient and cost-effective procedures while always maintaining the design aesthetic. And her to talk a little bit about her brand, Alien Design. It's made for the modern day eccentric, and Alien Design is the only online retailer that brings in the in-store tailor experience right to the customer's doorstep. And Andrea, welcome to the panel. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Yeah. Thanks.
Great. Next, we have on the panel is Laura Auden. Laura is the CEO at Bandeir Shoes, based out of Alaska, and her brand, Bandeir Shoes, where they make the world's first expandable footwear to accommodate people who don't comfortably fit into traditional shoe sizing, and they sell primarily direct to consumer. And she is an accomplished leader in management, uh, expertise in program development and operational performance. And Laura brings 16 years of healthcare experience and 12 years of business ownership to Pendair. Laura, thank you so much for joining in today on the panel. We look forward to learning a lot from you today. Great. Next, we have on the panel is Phil Kelly. Phil is an entrepreneur, investor, inventor, and author. And Phil is the founder of Malu. and where they manufacture extremely versatile and innovative patented drying racks for vehicles that are designed for ocean, mountain, and camping activities and operate on all cars, trucks, vans, and even RVs. And previously, Phil has worked with general manager for Motorola, and he has also worked with Dell Computer as President Asia Pacific, and he has a ton of experience. Phil, thank you so much for joining in today on the panel. We are glad to have you. Great. So let me begin. My first question is around purpose. Why did you started your brand, or what is the purpose of your brand? If I have to put it very succinctly, let me begin with Sharik. If you can share some thoughts about his brand.
Sure. Thank you, Kuldeep, for bringing us all together to discuss our respective brands. As you mentioned earlier, the business was started by my great-grandfather in a small town outside of Mumbai. My grandfather brought that to Mumbai and to other areas in India, and my father brought it to America and consequently the rest of the world. My brother and I joined the business. I was in the finance world for a couple years out of college, and then about 8 years ago, started full-time with him to see what we could do to expand the brand beyond just the ready-to-wear collections that we had. And for me, not only do I get to work with my father and my brother every day, but my dad he's a unique individual. He's a creative when it comes not just to clothing, but to architecture, to the relationships he has, to cooking.
Mm-hmm.
He emanates this creativity that's something I've never seen before. And I guess I was accustomed to living with it growing up, but to see other people's responses to his abilities are amazing. And I want to do whatever I can to help grow that brand, to help grow his vision, to see the impact we can have on our community.
Wow, excellent, excellent. I mean, I must say, so that's a very, very strong purpose. Like you're taking it, the lineage forward and kind of expanding on the wisdom, because I think the plan that your great grandfather had sowed, I think you guys are taking it to the next level. So excellent work. We would love to learn how the fashion world has changed and what are your thoughts? How do you see fashion evolving in the next decade, maybe if I have to say. So we'll touch upon that in a little while. Let me quickly go to Andrea. Andrea, what is the purpose of your brand?
Yeah, it really came from a personal need and something that I discovered while I was working in the fashion industry myself. We make clothes that are fit for more women's body types. So there's already a lot of that in the menswear world. They like Indochino for suits or bonobos, Stant for dress shirts, where you can put in your measurements and have like a more personalized fit made for you, but it doesn't really exist in the women's world. So I myself am only 5'0", so everything is too long on me. And while I was head of product development at Zac Posen, we would we have extravagant gowns there where we'd have celebrities come in. We'd have to reconstruct the whole thing if they were short waisted or had a long torso, because we don't accommodate for that. We just make our sizes go small and big in a width way, but we don't really accommodate for body proportion if you're not exactly even in your height. So being that was my job, I was the person that did all the fittings and ran the fittings and told the factory how to get from a size small down to a 0 all the way up to a 32. I knew that I had the tools and knowledge to create a new size scale and work with the factories on providing women a way to have more options in their fit. So they can take their measurements, put in their height, their width, their weight, and we use an algorithm to give them a better fit in their everyday wear. So right now we do basics, everyday, standard things that we can grow on top of and get more trendy as we grow. But right now we just want women to be able to walk out of their door with something that fits right and makes them feel more comfortable and confident.
Wow, that's an amazing purpose, I must say, because something that stems from your own need and the problem that you have experienced, I think that drives the show, I must say, because a lot of time when you formulate or the foundation of the business is so strong, that the purpose is so strong, you sky's the limit. Excellent, Andrea. So glad to hear that. Let me quickly
Yeah.
go to Phil as well. And Phil, if you can talk about your brand and the purpose behind when you started this brand.
Sure. Again, thank you for allowing me to participate with everybody else here. Most of my life I spent in technology, either running technology companies for Fortune 50 companies or my own companies. And after I sold the last one about 5-6 years ago, I went back to something I loved, surfing, and started doing it every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And after surfing, I needed to go visit companies we'd invested in or were doing business with, and couldn't find a great solution to dry a wetsuit other than it stinking up your car when you're driving around. So I made a solution, filed patents for it, which I was surprised we got, put it on Kickstarter. Everybody loved it.
Mm-hmm.
That was about 5 years ago, and that was the first proprietary product that we made. Today, we have over 100, most of them proprietary, our own inventions or innovations on them. And the purpose is to be able to allow outdoor enthusiasts to do more of what they love to do. And that's what we're focused on, is continuing to bring new and unique products to the market in an outdoor world, which is really new for me in this company.
Wow, that's amazing, Phil, I must say. And because again, just like Andrea, you saw a problem and you invented something new and you brought it to the market. And yeah, it might be it's a game changer that if you can move the needle in that direction. Because I think every problem, most of the time in the world that we are living in, for everything there is a solution. And there are still a lot of problems which are unsolved. So I think kudos to your creativity and ingenuity. So amazing. Thank you so much, Phil. Let me quickly go to Laura as well and hear about her purpose. Laura, go ahead.
Well, Pandir was born out of a personal need as well. I had cancer when I was 16. I had surgery, and often one of the side effects of cancer is lymphedema or swelling of whatever limb you've had surgery on.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I had a chronic swelling condition for my whole adult life. And, shoes were just a nightmare. And I managed to get through several decades until I finally became super aware that there was millions and millions of people,
Mm-hmm.
not just in the US, it's really a worldwide problem,
Uh-huh.
who have chronic conditions that cause them not to be able to fit into traditional sizes. If you think about it, you've got millions of shapes of feet and you've got a small handful of sizes to work with. So Andrea, I can relate. But, basically we make shoes that accommodate a variety of shapes of feet, and customers love them. They're very well made and high quality. They're made in Portugal.
Wow, excellent, amazing. Again, Laura, that's a great purpose, I must say, again, and because you experience that problem and you are trying to solve it, and yes, it's going to do a lot of impact for the community. And because I think no problem is solved, it's just that mindset, and you need to be creative, and the world is yours. Excellent. All right. So moving forward, let me talk a little bit about e-commerce or retail in general. The last 1 year has been extremely challenging. So according to you, how did your brand or how did your team manage to pull it through? How did you overcome this challenge that you experienced last year in order to continue or maintain the business continuity? Let me go to Sharik.
Well, I think separate, a little different than the other three panelists' businesses in the luxury sector. The last 18 months, as I'm sure it was for your businesses as well as millions of others, business all but disappeared. We rely on events to sell our clothing. primarily bridal. You have to have weddings, and to wear, our average retail price is $6,500. No one's going to spend that for a meeting on a Zoom call. Without that, I think it was about an 80% reduction over the last 18 months. We were forced to close our office for a few months, about 4. And then once we saw some, at least glimmer of hope, some area where we could focus on in the custom business, because there still was a sect of the population willing to, I guess, have small gatherings. And that was the business that kept us moving until about 6 months ago, when we really saw things start to open back up. So unfortunately, we're operating with a smaller team than we had before, but it requires a lot of people to wear many hats. I think we have a collaborative, forward-thinking, positive team right now that will help usher in this new post-COVID era for us. I think we were forced to learn how to operate extremely lean and efficiently, where for the 15 years prior, I think part of that dissolved. Part of that efficiency got taken away by the abundance of success, I guess. Like the good times make for inefficiencies, and I think hard times do the exact opposite. So we're looking forward to holding on to that as we move forward. So I guess just trying to find the silver lining over the difficult 18 months that just transpired.
That's amazing. Absolutely. And you said it rightly, Sharik. Like, I think as a brand, a lot of it was a very turbulent time. And I think that agility and the decision making has to be, and that taking that flexible approach that, okay, the pandemic is there and how to sail it through and find the solution. So that's a great approach, I must say. And this is a great example, I must say, that Sharik has touched upon, that how you need to innovate over the years whenever obstacles like this comes, and in order to make sure that the business continuity is there and you are still able to serve the customer in a very creative manner. Let me go to Laura and ask her about her experience in the last year, and now that we are almost coming out of it, how does she look at the growth story, or what's her thought going forward? Laura?
Well, for us, we're pretty young compared to some of the other businesses on the call. We're just in the early stages of year 3. So for us, last year was a big year for us because it was our second year. So it was our first year at kind of having a good handle on product and processes and basic things like that. Of course, year 3, I agree with Sharik. The hard times forces efficiency, and we have hugely benefited from that. For us, it was not an easy year at all. We had month-over-month growth from the beginning of the pandemic all the way through October and November. Mm-hmm. And then it really came to a big crashing halt for us. And so I don't know how many other businesses experienced a late effect in pandemic, but we experienced it really hard in December, January, February, March of 2021. Mm-hmm. By April, May, and June, things were starting to turn around. But probably the biggest thing for us is that we had always relied on digital advertising. In particular, Facebook was our biggest converter. Mm-hmm. And that was always the case from day one. And we had, good ROA, everything from, 2 to 5, which I think for a starting business was working for us. Mm-hmm. And Facebook stopped working completely and totally, utterly crashed. I've heard other businesses saying that they had similar experiences, but we then hung on to Facebook advertising from December through most of April, and it was abysmal, and it mm-hmm. hurt us really hard. And so in a way, it's almost like in May we started over. But now we're doing much more bootstrappy type marketing, mm-hmm. and it's working much better. We're reaching out to new channels that we never would have reached out to before. So I'm much happier.
That's great. So you found a solution in that turbulent time, and you stick with it, and you're finding creative ways and means to take your brand to the next level. Excellent, Laura. This is a great learning again that Laura has shared, that no matter what the obstacle is, just find a creative way, and there is always a way. Let me go to Phil quickly. And as Phil mentioned earlier, like how he started his company, about this product that he has built. Phil, how is the business for you in last year? And now that we are coming out of it, how do you see your business going forward?
Yeah, so we sell primarily online and then through Amazon and use resellers around the world. Frankly, the sales through the pandemic has been good for us because people did more things outside. They just did them individually as opposed to groups. The big challenges for us were supply chain. And it started during the middle of the pandemic. We make a lot of our products overseas. So steel cost, material cost, currency cost, gone through the roof. Lately, transportation cost. Yeah. Right now, I'm bringing containers on the water, and they're about 4.5 times as expensive, wow. 4.5 times higher than they were before Chinese New Year, which we thought was insane pricing. So, that forced us to move an agenda item that we had for quite a bit to be able to manufacture in the United States to the top of our list. And so we're now underway of going through, the process of being able to bring a certain amount of our products onshore and to build them here because transportation costs has now made it more economically and viable. And to the other comment, I agree. Facebook is no longer our primary advertising channel. Not only with the iOS particular changes, but it just has not been as efficient. And the other point I will raise to it is we introduced a new product about 3 months ago called the Lounge Wagon. Did a Kickstarter in it, wildly successful. And I deal with continuous scammers on Facebook advertising my product that they took off Kickstarter and are scamming people on Facebook all day long with our patented, trademarked, and copyrighted images and our particular videos and content. Facebook does not verify advertisers. And so when we catch them, we can file. But the fact that platform is not performing and allows people to unverified advertisers who are unscrupulous there. It's just a bad process. We've written this to Zuckerberg and others, but we're not the only company in this position that has to deal with these scammers on Facebook, and it's horrible for your brand.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow. So that's a very very important problem that you brought to the discussion, Phil, I must say, because I think as a merchant, as a business, you want to give the experience to your consumers, and if these kind of things impact the consumer experience, is definitely not a good thing that can happen. But I hope there can be some solution that can come out of it. And again, the problem that you mentioned, like supply chain, how you are managing that. So I think knowing the problem and then finding those creative ways is the way to go. And going forward, now that we are coming out of pandemic, the demand will kick in, and I think we need to be just ready for helping our consumers with the product or services that they love. So this is again a great insight that Phil has just shared. Let me go to Andrea also and hear about her story. Andrea, how was the business for you last year, and what are you planning to do this year to take it to the next level?
I'm sure our story is similar to everyone's already spoken. It was tough. Since I was in the industry and I consult for other fashion brands, like I already saw the issue before the pandemic hit America, because being it was in China, like we started experiencing problems before the Chinese New Year, which was always a hiccup in the fashion world. So I, of course, saw that this was going to be an issue. Instead of planning any new products that were coming out, I abruptly put it to a halt. I was like, this whether we think it's coming to America or not before we got coronavirus. I was like, this is going to be an issue. So let's just skip ahead and pause our new product. So only used our factories. We actually were then able to go very slow with our new development, knowing that I was going to push back the launch date of any new products coming out and only just bring in recuts for anything that we were low on stock, which was nice because then I could very much perfect our product. And as everyone spoke about, reducing the internal costs. So no office, everyone worked remote. We're still working remote because we realized it's very possible, it's doable. We're all in the same city, so we can meet and have in-person meetings when possible, but there's no need for it. I can have a fit model to me, and all of my development and production is happening either domestically, but virtually or overseas. So cutting back on costs, and then what we really did was dove into our community. We quit advertising back in November because, again, as things were getting hectic with the global pandemic, I could see the competition rising. So I do consult for some large DTC brands where they quadrupled their monthly spend, and they did amazing throughout the pandemic. Like for them, Facebook killed it, but they're spending $500,000 a month on advertisements, which puts small brands like any of us into major trouble because you can't compete with that. So we paused that as well, and we really dove into engaging with our community, which was a huge help. So we were able to quadruple our email marketing list, and then really communicate with our community and get feedback. We made them feel like part of our team and helping us design the new products that are launching this fall. And did some many VIP virtual events where they got to join us, and we bring in partners, and we'd give them tutorials or things that they could, whether it was how to wear our clothes or joining a makeup brand and giving them tips on how to do your face for a Zoom call. But anyways, just really building excitement and getting more people to the site, getting more shares and boosting revenue that way. Because we did do a lot of pop-ups and events, which all stopped. So we really turned to how can we do a virtual event that's not annoying, because at some point I think all of us were sick of virtual events and Zooms. So yeah, we really, really focused on building our community and making them feel like part of our family, and having our own customers essentially do the work of spreading the word and helping us grow our revenue. And that worked.
That's great. So you found a creative way to grow organically through these creative ways and means. So this is great. I think this is what the learning of last year is, that no matter what happens, you'll keep moving. And I think the world, now that we are in a digital world, I think, going forward, we might have technologies which will enable us to have a three-dimensional experiences where we can get into the store, walk into the store virtually, not on our laptop, but in our own environment, and touch and feel the products, not actual touch and feel, but we can still experience the product just like when we go to a shopping mall. So that's on the in the pipeline that will happen eventually. But great thought there, Andrea. That's a great learning that Andrea just touched upon, that how organic is the best tool for marketing. With that, let me also go to Sharik. And Sharik, you previously mentioned that your brand is into fashion industry and it's on the premium side of things. So how do you see going forward now that things are improving and we are coming out of pandemic? We are not completely come out of it, but how do you see the world of fashion changing? What are your thoughts, let's say for the next 1 or 2 years? How do you see the trend?
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't know if this is answering your question on the trend, but for us, what we need to do to be a viable business is make our brand more accessible. When we launched Bridal in 2013, that was the first expansion to our product offering since inception in 2003. We recently partnered with Rock Nation in the end of 2019. It's Jay-Z's company in New York. It's a large media. It might sound like an interesting partnership, but it's a media company where he represents about 160 different artists, primarily in the music sector. But I think what they saw happening was their clients were signing license deals with larger companies, and they thought they could do that themselves. So recently, so they started their own licensing division, and they brought us on as their first fashion brand. So through them, we're now looking at opportunities with fragrance, cosmetics, jewelry, and eyewear. And I think at the end of the day, if our products are still averaging $6,000 for what we sell now, we'll never be able to expand to a new demographic. We'll never be able to expand into the Bloomingdale's, the Dick's, the 1,000 other retailers out there that just aren't relevant to our brand. Yeah. And right now, I think we're close to the ceiling of where we can go with what we have. So it's about creating things that are accessible, because people know the brand, but it's unattainable. If I was a consumer for this product, I would never spend the money on it. And that's coming from someone who's working closely with the design, manufacturing, and production of it. So I think right now our focus is becoming more resilient for things like this in the future, because this is a one-off event, a force majeure event that happened over the last 18 months, but there are going to be things like it that happen again. And right now, as we are not recession-proof, and are very much subject to external factors that I want to try to mitigate moving forward. That's the primary goal right now.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Excellent, I must say, because so you are thinking you're taking those strategic decisions to formulate these collaborations, these partnerships in order to take your brand to the next level. I think this is a great way, and because I think your target audience and the buyer persona is very different. So I think by identifying the right partners, you can do great things with them, and ultimately, in order to engage with your with the consumers that you are looking for. That's a great advice again that Sherry has just touched upon, that how strategic partnership and when having the right partners, how you can do great things. I think because I think with the right partners, you can collaborate, you can get more connections going forward, and ultimately it helps the consumers. So that's a great learning again, Sherry. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let me go to Laura also. And Laura, for you have been doing advertising, and definitely you are finding creative ways for advertising. And what are your thoughts on paid advertising led growth versus organic marketing? How do you look at it? Do you think paid works better or organic growth works better as per your experience?
Well, boy, that's such a tough question for me, because, we did not have any experience in the fashion or shoe industry at all. Mm-hmm. We were coming from purely a consumer solving a problem perspective. Now, we had our own skills that we brought to the table. Mm-hmm. But marketing was really not one of them. Everything that we've learned so far, we've learned on the seat of our pants, mm-hmm. and through other people teaching us. Uh-huh. I mean, we really relied heavily on experts handling the marketing side for us. Okay. And it was really, on the one hand, I don't think we'd be where we are because we needed that brand awareness in order to get a foothold. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I would not say it paid for itself. And we went through a lot of different versions. Mm-hmm. Now, the place that we're in right now is by paying experts to show us how to do, mm-hmm. where to advertise, how to do other types of brand awareness. Now we're doing stuff in a very, very different way. And, our ROA has gone from, 2 to 9. And that's largely a reflection of we're just not spending that much on digital advertising right now. I wish, Andrea, we had the foresight to stop advertising with Facebook back in November, because I think that would have helped us a lot. Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Right now, we're really leveraging our existing business. Our existing business has, gone from kind of 25% repeat business to like 70% repeat business. Wow. So we're really leveraging our mailing list in a way that we haven't had as much focus on.
Yeah.
Nobody can caretake the details like you can. So nobody's going to go the extra mile to pay attention to that small detail as much as you are. So I don't have an opinion on whether paid advertising or non-paid advertising is better. What I do have an opinion on is all the free things that have to do with partnering, that have to do with social, have to do with live stream, stuff like that. Do that all the time early on, because we didn't. Well, we did some of it, but we're really focusing on a lot of that stuff now.
Wow. Laura, that's a great learning that you shared, because you shared something really valuable, that you started doing it, you started taking the experts' help, and you know what more things you can do and how you can learn more. And because that's the way, because marketing is an evolving thing. And as you mentioned one point, email marketing, that's a great email marketing is like your golden goose, and it's it's the best form of subtle communication that you can have with your audience, to keep them engaged, to let them know what you're doing, what your brand is doing. Most of the time, people want that conversation to be more humane on the email also, and that's what really helps. And now that we are living in a world where Apple is really going to change the way things work, where even getting an email from a consumer is going to be difficult. So we are moving in that world. So we have become, again, more creative to advertise, to engage with the audience. In the absence of an email, whom are you going to send the email campaign to? In the absence of, if you can't understand who the customer is or what's his demographic, you can't do advertising to him. So a lot of challenges are coming in, but I think there will be more solutions. But great pointers, Laura, that you shared there. Let me go to Phil also and ask Phil. Phil, for your brand, what do you do? How do you market your brand? Definitely, you do Kickstarter, but after that, do you do paid advertising or organic growth? How do you do it?
The answer is yes. So the most important factor for us is acquisition cost. What does it actually cost us to be able to get a customer to our particular website? So, we've got to be able to do SEO and do it well, and do your on-site optimizations. We use bots on the site to be able to collect information from customers, email marketing, social marketing, paid advertising, promotions, email promotions, collaborations with other particular companies. But you can try many of these particular channels, but you've still got to come down to what's the number one acquisition channel for you, right, particularly at a cost point. And you want to be able to maximize that before you go on to number two. And I can tell you, for us, it's different by different products. Like a lounge wagon, Google Shopping, and I can do that all day long. And that's going to give me the best, being the lowest acquisition cost compared to Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, anything else, website advertising. Now, that's not the same for some of our other products. So we actually run campaigns and marketing by product to be able to understand what channel is best for that product and what's the best acquisition for users for that particular product. And then you have to maximize it.
Yeah. Interesting. That's interesting. That's a very, very important point you touched upon, Phil, about the customer acquisition costs, because I think as we have so many channels to engage with the consumers, knowing which channel is working really well for you, and then focusing your efforts in that direction, and constantly making an effort to reduce the customer acquisition cost over a period of time in order to derive the maximum lifetime value. This is an excellent insight. I think any brand, any merchant can use this and constantly analyze their data point to understand, out of Facebook, email marketing, Google ads, Instagram ads, what channel is working best, and give 100% attention to that channel as much as possible. Let me go to Andrea also. And Andrea, for your brand, what's your vision for the next 5 years? Where do you want to take your brand, or where do you want to see your brand, and how do you want your consumers to perceive your brand?
Yes. Well, we definitely want to expand our offering. So right now, everything's like cut and sew, which means it stretches. And so we're launching wovens, like a casual suiting and just a broader offering for the styles that are coming out that become much more size specific, which caters to like what we're doing for women. So we're going to start offering pieces that are a bit more difficult to make and it's difficult for them to find. And then really dive into a more personalized fit and a more customized fit. And eventually I'm not the biggest fan of wholesale retail, but I would do brick and mortar where we can have shops where they can come in and be fit and have that more personalized experience similar to an Indochino for men. So yeah, expanding on our product line and eventually opening shops where we can give them an experience that is like uplifting and brings joy to their life. I think that experiences are very, very important right now. That's like where the millennials are going, is like they care more about the experience that comes along with the shopping than the actual product sometimes. So
that's very true. I think that's a great strategy, I must say, Andrea, because I think when you are able to complement the experiences, what you can offer online and what you can offer offline, that's a great mix. And consumers love it most of the time. I think consumers, when they go to shop, even if it's window shopping, you can form a great impression, and subconsciously you are able to make a space in the consumer's mind. And when the actual purchase decision has to be made, that brand recall is very strong if the consumers have touched and feel your product in an offline shop. So that's a great strategy for you. Amazing. Let me go to Sharik, and I know we are running short of time, so we'll have 10 more minutes of conversation. So Sharik, as a brand, you are kind of serving a very different target audience. But going forward, how do you see the offline shopping? I mean, when a consumer goes to an offline shop, they can try on a product. But with the pandemic that we are in, that whole thing has kind of that there has been a behavioral shift that we have observed. Will the consumer try on a product which has been already worn by someone or has been tried by someone before? I mean, it's a very interesting problem that's going to be there for the offline world that the world is going to experience. So what are your thoughts? I mean, how do you look at it? I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong, but what are your thoughts on it?
Difficulty for a brand like ours to navigate the globalized economy, the e-commerce focused economy, which we saw become even more prevalent over the last year. We don't have much inventory. We make things to order. We don't have a 9-con standalone retail outlet. So in case the products that we do produce for our online shop don't sell, I don't have a way of offloading it easily without selling it at a discount to another retailer, and then my product is on the floor for 70% off, which is not an ideal look for a brand. Not to mention, we did have an e-commerce platform for about a year and a half. This is back in 2016. It did well, but orders were sporadic. There was no telling when they would come because, again, like we discussed earlier, the prices are extraordinarily high. We don't have inventory, so it would take 8 to 12 weeks to deliver. The quality was great. That's fine, but the other two things matter. And I couldn't offer a return policy. I made that as clear as possible on the website, but I can't spend 8 to 12 weeks producing something for the client for their minds to change, which created a potential for a negative relationship with your consumer, which is the last thing you want. So after about 8 months of doing that, we decided to hold off until we have product that's more relevant for e-commerce platforms.
Excellent, excellent. So you're taking that very different approach. Amazing. Good.
Well, until we get into lower priced goods, until we get into an area of time where we have our own retail outlets to potentially offload unsold inventory, I think we have to stick to the traditional retail model, the brick and mortar, and take it from there.
Great, great. And how do you do your brand marketing? Like, do you do paid advertising or email marketing, or how do you do it?
Zero paid advertising, zero email marketing. It's all relatively organic through celebrities wearing our clothing. Michelle Obama wore Naeem Khan about 15 times in the 8 years she was in office, and that is something you can't pay for. It happens, and when it does, it is fantastic. And that's also why the last 18 months has been so difficult, because there haven't been opportunities for celebrities wearing our clothing, which is what we rely on for marketing. Not to mention our fashion shows twice a year. Those are amazing exposure opportunities as well. But I think when the time comes, we will implement some of the routes that Phil was mentioning and identifying some of these marketing opportunities that make sense for our product.
Excellent, amazing. So that's a great, great approach. So you are taking a very unique approach, and I think for you, organic is the most right way. And as a brand, you have certain standards that you stick to. So that's a great thought process, I must say, because I think the brand recall for premium product has to be extremely strong, and you are not making any discount there. So excellent thought. I think for any brand, just like how for every brand there can be a strategy which is completely different from others. So that's again, I think in Sharik's case, it's very, very unique. Thank you for sharing that, Sharik. Let me go to Laura quickly and ask her, Laura, you started you are a growing company, you're a growing brand, and it's with a very strong purpose and a thought from a problem that you experience. What is your vision for your brand for the next 5 years? Where do you want to see your brand going forward?
Well, I think we really like the e-commerce strategy. We do have something new that's probably coming on in 2022. We're licensing our name to one of our partners who has a large distribution network and retailers. So in the next year or two, I think what we're going to end up with is a higher price point, higher quality Portugal brand that's a little more medical oriented, and then a lower price point, which is more mainstream and reaching a more less medical audience. I mean, our customers tend to skew older, and although they are across the spectrum, I'd say, one of the difficulties that we have is just finding out how to reach an older audience with all this shift toward technology and internet. TikTok, I mean, our people just aren't on TikTok yet. As an example, a lot of the strategies like SMS and other places or other strategies, we haven't found those to work yet. But I do think us diversifying into kind of the higher price point online, lower price point through retail distributors, and having that, I feel really confident that that strategy will bring people to our website, and both will fuel each other, because most people can actually use both products.
Wow, excellent. So you are trying to innovate on the pricing front, on the product front, in order to engage with more target audience and make brand more accessible for all. Amazing, great thought process. Let me go to Phil and ask him, Phil, what is the vision that you have for your brand, for the products that you currently have? And because I think so you have built something which is kind of an invention in itself, and owning a patent on the product, that's a great, great USP, which is kind of a great way to convey to the target audience that why we are unique. So what is your vision for your brand for the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, when people think about the brand Malo, I want them to think about innovative products for, active outdoor enthusiasts that are great quality and great customer service. Those are the main things that I want them to feel about our particular brand. And if we do that well, the rest will take care of itself.
Excellent, excellent, amazing. Andrea, how about you? What do you think? What's your take on your vision? Or probably, if I may ask you, what is that one challenge that you would like to solve for your brand in order to scale up?
It probably on the production side of things. Like if I want to offer a more customized fit, we have to work with the factories. Like right now it's prefabricated, so there's more sizes and for different body proportions to ship, which does mean that on the internal side, we have to stock more SKUs. So working with the factory and our fit technology to get to a point where maybe we can speed up production so we can put in smaller orders more frequently would be a great way to scale and improve both our margins and the options that the customers can have. So that's probably a big challenge that we will be working on with the fit and tech side of things going forward.
Great. Excellent thought. So now that we are coming to an end of this panel discussion, I have one last question for all of you is, what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to someone who wants to launch an e-commerce business or someone who is already running an e-commerce or a retail business? From your own experiences, you guys have already touched upon a lot of things in the last 45 minutes, but what is that one piece of advice or learning that you would like to share with someone, let's say, for example, to your loved one who wants to venture into e-commerce? What is that advice that you would like to give him or her? Let me begin with Sharik. What is that advice that you would like to give?
Well, I feel like any advice I would give her now would be unfounded, and I feel like if anything, I'd be detracting time away from the likes of Phil, who's sounds like he's been doing this for a while with trial and error and firm conclusions in place. So I yield to the other panelists for this one.
Okay, that's a great way. Okay, let's go to Laura. Laura, what is that advice that you would like to give? Definitely, I think because you're learning, you're growing, and I think you experience the different challenges, and you know what are the more challenges. But let's say someone from your family comes to you and asks you, "Hey, I would like to start a business like you. I want to be an entrepreneur like you." So, what is that advice that you would give?
Oh, advice is hard. I mean, I think the main thing that I think a new person needs to be focused on is, stay really focused on your product, testing. But, really it's testing everywhere. It's A/B testing email messages. It's A/B testing pop-up windows. It's A/B testing various different products, depending on your product. Like, our product also has essentially a 6 to 9 month turnaround. So we have to predict what somebody's going to buy in 9 months or a year. And honestly, we're not, this is not our superpower yet. We luckily have some other superpowers, but I think it boils down to really early on having, starting out with an idea that you're really going to be in the trenches for a long time. And you really have to develop early resiliency and find that balance between listening to other people's advice, because you're going to get a lot of advice and a lot of it's really helpful. Yeah. And a lot of it is incredibly distracting. And there's a lot of negativity coming at you from investors and various different places, encouraging you to, do this or think about this or grow big or make your, whatever. Yeah. And it can be really emotionally challenging. So if you want to do this, be in it for the long haul. Yeah. Plan on it being a roller coaster with bumper cars at the same time. Oh, and you just got to build up your strength. It's a muscle. It's a daily muscle. So keep
Wow.
going, keep testing.
Excellent. Excellent advice, Laura, I must say. And this thought came to my mind because I think running a business is like a marathon where every day you have to run a sprint and then you can win that marathon. So this is an excellent advice that Laura has shared, that you are in it for the long haul. So know what you're doing and stick to it. Keep learning, keep innovating, and find why you're doing it. So that way you don't get bored or you don't feel saturated on the way. I think in e-commerce, just like Mr. Bezos started it 30, 40 years back in his basement, and now what we see Amazon like a giant. So he has the vision and he stick with it, and now what they're called as the number one customer centric company. So that's something that Laura is just touched upon. Thank you so much, Laura. Let me go to Phil. Phil, you already touched upon a lot of different things, but what is that one or two things that you would like to share to someone in your family or to your friend that they want to start and how they can grow?
Or you start your business, do the research. Make sure you know everything about your space, the competitors, pricing, markets, channels. You have to know everything in your landscape. And once you start the business, understand the resources and tools that you can use today to be able to build that business. It's far easier today to build a business than it's ever been in our history. So use tools like this and knowledge bases that are out there. And frankly, there's stories of people selling millions of dollars on a single page landing page. Come on. Those tools are incredible. So know your space, know your tools.
Excellent. So know your space, know your tools, and research. That's the advice coming in from Phil. And it's a great advice. And just a couple of years back when Satya Nadella took over Microsoft, he mentioned something very interesting to his employees is like, rather than saying know it all, learn it all. So I think what Phil had just mentioned is when you do that research, you will learn. You'll learn, and that's how you can apply and grow. So thank you so much, Phil, for that excellent advice. Let me go to Andrea also.
Kuldeep?
Andrea, I think you should just go ahead and answer the question that we were, because I think I want to know what you have to say.
And it looks like it's recording, so it'll exist.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say testing, and research. So you both hit that one. I think the third part would be like your customer research, of doing a lot of surveys, talking to the people that you think are your cheerleaders, finding out who your core customer is, because if you have 1,000 people that kind of like you, it's not going to be nearly as good as even if you only have people that love you. So I think a lot of brands put a product out there and then no one really hooks on. So finding out who your true customer is extremely important before you launch. So we did a lot of just talking to people, surveys, and research on finding our core customers, so you know how to talk to them, how to market to them, and how to reach them.
Great.
So they're both gone, right? We lost Kuldeep and Phil.
Yeah, Laura, Andrea, this was really fun. I appreciate hearing about your businesses and wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Same to you.
All right, we'll talk later. Bye.
Bye.
We're leaving, right?
I think so. Hard to tell.
All right, guys.
There
So
he is.
thank you so much. There was some issue with Zoom at my end, so I got logged out. But thank you so much for joining in. And thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much, Laura. And I'll be in touch. Let's connect again sometime. And would love to learn a lot about any other topic. We are going to host some more panel discussions going forward, and we'd love to have like a one-on-one with you as well, like a 35 minutes, where you can share your brand story in more detail. Today I try to cover as much as possible in the 60 minutes, but more can be shared.
Happy to, anytime.
Yeah. So great.
Great.
I'll be in touch. Let's talk soon. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.